great to see
So
you.
soon since the last time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hell of a summer, hell of a year, hell of a couple of years for you, as I've told you a couple of times, it feels like. It's been a wild ride, to say the least. What I love particularly about seeing you in this film is, first of all, you have such a likable screen presence. It's not a surprise to me that Jason is the hero for the audience for this story. But how did that feel for you, being able to interact with so many of the members of this cast and be like that audience focal point where we could see like the story through Jason's eyes?
We were so excited by the ensemble that we built. I mean, a big part of this movie comes from our shared love of ensemble coming of age comedies. And so even though it has a big slasher component to it, the like heart of the movie, I think, is an ensemble comedy. And so it was really important to find a group of actors who had really unique and personal twists on each character. And so Abby Quinn, Woon-A-Tai, Paradis Remy, Julia Lalonde, Julie Doyle. Like, it's too many people to name, but every single actor in this movie had a really specific take. And Jason is, as you said, kind of the eyes through the story. But what's also funny is, like, he's the person that loves Camp Pineway the most, who everyone other than Claire finds the most annoying. And so we liked that dichotomy, that like the person that loved this place and cared about it more than anything was also the one that everyone was the most suspicious and annoyed by.
I know, right? It would be like, he's the one. He's clearly got to be the one. He's so into it. For you growing up, did you ever have a camp that you ever went to as a kid?
It was funny, man. Like I never really, I went to a couple day camps and stuff, but I never really had like a great summer camp or like long time summer camp experience. And when we started preparing this movie, I thought in my head, I'm like, Finn and Billy must have, the way that it was written, they must have had these beautiful camp experiences. And then gradually I realized that they didn't either. And we all had this shared kind of aspirational romantic longing for like a summer camp experience that none of us ever had. In a funny way, making the movie was like that experience. We filmed at an actual summer camp in Ontario. We took over that camp a couple nights. We even slept there. So we did have that camp experience just many years later making this movie.
I mean, one could say too that even just making a movie in and of itself feels like being away at camp.
Always, and a way that Finn and like the thing that inspired Finn and Billy writing this was they were acting in a movie together and were laughing and thinking a lot about the kind of group dynamic of filming a movie. Gradually, that shifted into a summer camp, but I think that informed it for sure. I mean, every single movie you make is like a summer camp in that way that everyone travels for. Even the timing is very similar. Movies can take like 2 to 3 months generally. They can take less and they can take longer, but like the median is 2 to 3 months, which is around how long a person goes to summer camp.
Yeah. And when you break it down like that, 2 to 3 months, you have a little bit of time where you do a little press, maybe a little award season run, as you recently went on with Nickel Boys, and world tour too with Gladiator 2. I'm curious, like, are we going to have another year where we're going to see like 5 or 6 projects from you again, my friend? Or
I think that's humanly impossible. I mean, those movies came out so close together, but they weren't made in the same year. It was a sort of serendipitous thing that they all came out around the same time, because some of them were made like a few years apart. So I think doing it every year might be physically impossible. But I will say, the way that I like to work and comes from a love of the filmmakers and the material, and so yeah, I don't know. It kind of just comes out of. I will, if there's a movie that I feel I need to be a part of, I will do everything I can to be a part of that movie. So I don't know. It might gravitate over the years, but that was a busy one last year.
Oh, I'm sure. Working with a legend like Ridley Scott, to being on a set with a bunch of 20-something-year-olds all just having a grand old time. I mean, I talked with Finn and Billy earlier today, and it just sounds like everybody had so much fun working on this, and also too paying homage to the slasher genre of films like going back to the 70s and 80s, with a modern sensibility. I mean, for you, like, when you think about like that genre of films, like which ones like stand out to you as like some seminal like favorites?
We talked a lot about John Carpenter. I love his movies, and he's someone who they're so funny. Even the scary, intense ones still always have humor. And the other thing that I think he's just so brilliant at in a movie like The Thing, for instance, is the way that he crafts an ensemble. You really feel like that communal storytelling where like every single person is a full, living, breathing, real person. But it's about those group dynamics. And so, Carpenter is always sort of a treat to rewatch and to think about, and in certain parts of this movie was an influence.
Absolutely. And of course, there's like a lot of subversion of typical like tropes that I also really liked. I told Billy and Finn how I thought the characters being like self-aware of their situations and smart too, also just added a degree of fun to this.
Well, something that we talked about is like, sometimes I've watched movies where a character is developed, and then when conflict or the action starts, they just like magically turn into a movie hero, whatever that means, rather than continue to be themselves. And something that was really important to Finn and Billy, and I cared about through their work, was the way that they had written a script where every person was always still themselves, for better and for worse. Like, each character's neuroses and messiness and stubbornness was a part of the way that they dealt with the horror and slasher element. Like, they didn't just magically go away. And so I do think that's important. I think making movies through human character is something that really matters in storytelling.
Yeah. I don't want to give anything away because I feel like, very much like watching something like Scream or something, the twists and turns in the story, and it is a big ensemble. So it's like, who did it? Who's behind it? You don't want to reveal anything. But if you could reveal, what was the most fun day on set for you without giving away spoilers? That would be pretty cool.
Well, I can say, every day was fun, but something that we were just talking about that comes to mind is, because when you're doing a horror movie, so much of the shoot is in the middle of the night. There's so many night shoots. So frequently it's like that delirious 3 a.m. energy. And we were setting up a shot for a scene I won't spoil. But while we were doing that, it was taking some time. So like the entire cast came up with like an extended dance routine. And everyone worked really hard on memorizing the choreography of each movement. And that was a really, really fun night.
I love it. I'm curious to know, how would your character in this film, Jason, react to another one of your characters that you have played in the last year attending the camp, particularly Caracalla?
Jason is like a very patient, strives to always be understanding person. So even
that's why we love him.
Exactly. And so like even someone as ruthless, dare I say, and sometimes selfish and cruel as Caracalla, I still feel that Jason would I still think he would try and figure out ways to give him the best camp experience, and I think he still would be there for him. I genuinely think he's like a wonderful counselor and by extension a very good teacher and stuff.
And that's why, like I said, like your character is the heart and soul of this film. It's why I fell in love with the movie, your chemistry with Abby Quinn in it. And ultimately, at the end of it all, man, I'm happy once again for all your continued success and everything else you have going on. So thank you for the time here. I really, really appreciate it. And best of luck to you, man.
Thank you, Matt. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And thanks for being such a champion of films.
Always, man. Take care.
You too.